Welcome to the Rental Licensing Inspection Webinar Series. This is being brought to you by the Neighborhood Services team with the Planning and Code Administration Department. What we're going to do is we're going to walk you through a rental inspection. We're going to cover different aspects of a rental property while conducting a rental interior inspection. This is not a full comprehensive review of one of our inspections. What we're covering is the most common types of items that we come across in a residential unit. Do not use this webinar as a checklist. This webinar is only an advisory. Each property owner is still responsible for making sure you're compliant with all the applicable codes. For the next couple of weeks, what we're going to do is we're going to give you what our thoughts are while an inspector is examining the unit while conducting the rental inspection. This way for you to better understand what the staff are inspecting while we conduct one of these inspections. And at the end of the webinar, we were going to answer any questions that you might have here while, as time allows, while we're doing this inspection. Please, to ask your questions, just tap or click on the Q&A button that you'll find at either the bottom or the top of your screen. Just depends on where it is located, and then you can just type in your answer or type in your question there for us to answer. Today, we're going to walk you through the living room, and Sean is going to be your inspector for today. Sean is certified with the International Code Council as a property maintenance inspector. Sean?
All right, so just a couple of basic things that, actually several basic things that I'm looking at, for example, when we're looking at the living room. So, of course, perhaps I'm coming in through the front door, and what I'm looking at is, first of all, the condition of a storm door, if it has a storm door on it. Making sure it's in good repair. Making sure that the windows are intact, there's no broken glass, screens are tight, there's no loose screens, no tears, no holes. You know, make sure everything works correctly. Door hardware closes tight. Similarly with the front door, I'm looking at the overall condition of the door. It's in good shape, it's not decayed, rusted, the wood isn't rotted. Checking the door hardware, making sure it turns freely. And when it's closed, making sure it closes securely. And again, you know, all the locking mechanisms are working properly. With this one, with the glass as well, making sure that the glass is in good repair. If there's glazing holding the glass in, making sure the glazing's in good shape as well. And making sure it's weather tight. So I'm kind of looking at those door gaps too. If I see any daylight coming through, that tells me that maybe a weather seal strip needs to be installed so that there's no drafts. So I'm coming into the room itself, and I'm checking out the overall conditions of the walls and the ceiling. So are there any cracks? Are there any holes in the walls? I'm looking at baseboards and trim. Are they in good repair? No gaps in the floors, just to make sure there's no rotted wood, that kind of thing. The paint's in good shape. Sometimes walls may not be in bad repair, but it's obviously they need paint. So, you know, a good sanitary condition with the walls and the ceilings. And then I'm also looking at the windows. Windows are a real critical part of it. So again, with windows, a number of things. First of all, that they're in just overall good repair. The locking mechanisms work correctly. Do they open and close freely? And they're not too loose in the sashes. So when the window opens, is it able to stay open on its own? And so it can stay open on its own the way it was designed, or if someone maybe has some old windows and they're not staying open, they can use barrel bolts. So as long as they stay open, in the event primarily of an emergency, someone can get out. Again, like the doors, the glass is in good shape. There's no breaks. There's no holes in the glass. Same thing with the glazing. If the glazing's rotted or if it's missing, you know, making sure that those windows are tight, making sure the glass itself is weather tight, the window is weather tight. Again, with their screens, no holes or tears, if I didn't already mention that. So really, just keeping in mind, the window has to be in good repair. And when it comes to windows, you want to make sure, because in Hagerstown, something that's unique with the closeness of a lot of structures in Hagerstown is some of them are right up against one another. So with windows, you want to at least make sure that you have at least 3 feet of distance between the window and the outside structure. Remember the 4% rule. So one of the things that we're looking at when we walk into a room is it meeting the kind of the process ventilation requirements, the amount of open area to properly ventilate the room. So with windows, you want to make sure that you have at least 4% openings for the room that it's in. So basic rule of thumb, if you've got a room that's 100 square feet and you times that by 4%, that's 4 square feet. So you want to have at least 4 square feet of open space to handle that proper ventilation. Now, some people will use the collapsible screens, and those are okay generally speaking. But again, because there's varying sizes, if you use them, you want to still make sure that with those screens you're meeting that 4% requirement. And then also I'm looking at the light fixtures. So if there's light fixtures in the room, making sure that they're simply in good repair, they're working properly. The wire, there's no loose wire, the fixture itself is not loose. If the light fixture is made to have a globe on it to cover the light, we're looking to have that globe fixture on that. So just making sure that the light fixture is in good repair. If there's a remote switch, making sure that the remote switch works to operate that light. And then electrical receptacles. If we move on to electrical, a number of things that we're looking at. Again, are they in overall good repair? Are there any obvious areas where there's been arcing, blackness around the plates, which would tell us that there's an electrical problem? Face plates being installed on the receptacles. Ensure that there's at least 2 remote receptacles in a room. So what you want to avoid is, to meet the requirement, sometimes what people will do is they'll put 2 receptacles and they're real close proximity of one another, but that's not separate and remote. So you would have a light fixture over here, and then you would have a light fixture over here to meet that requirement. And just making sure, again, that they're working properly, they're properly grounded. So I'm going to have a device where I can test it to make sure it's working correctly. There's no open grounds and so forth. And something else to keep in mind, again, what's not uncommon in a lot of homes is electrical baseboard heaters. So you want to make sure that you don't have an outlet directly over the top of a baseboard heater. You could have it over the switch, but that heat source part of it, you want to have that. So either you'll have to relocate the baseboard or relocate the outlet. And then as far as temperature, again, in the winter months when heat is needed, we want to ensure that your room is maintaining at least a temperature of 65 degrees. Other things as well, the floors, we're looking to make sure that those are in good condition. So if you've got vinyl or linoleum, there's no rips or tears in the vinyl or linoleum. Carpet, you just want to make sure that they're not obviously looking beyond their normal life. Sometimes just wear and you need to replace that. They need to be in good condition. And then infestations, that may be an obvious one, but sometimes what may be needed is a treatment by a pest control company, because we're looking for signs of infestation, and the overall cleanliness would be included in making sure that the unit is clean, is making sure that there's no signs of an infestation. So basically, just to summarize the things that we've talked about today, we've talked about doors, whether it be the main door or the storm door, they need to be in good repair. We're looking at the overall condition of the walls, the ceilings and floors. Are they in good repair? Do they need attention? Windows, making sure that they're in good repair. Electrical systems, make sure they're working properly. And the temperature, and then infestation. So just a number of basic things that we're looking for when it comes to a rental inspection.
All right, thanks, Sean, for taking us through the living room. And so Sean did not cover every aspect of what we might come across during an inspection of a living room. Hagerstown's very unique, and that's what we like about Hagerstown, and each structure can be different. So we're just kind of giving you the general overview of the types of things that we're looking for while conducting an inspection. What we're going to do is we're going to open some things up to some questions that people might have. So please, if you have any questions, please tap or click in the Q&A box and submit your question to us. Right now, if you have any specific question related to your particular property, you can always email us at codecompliance@hagerstownmd.org to ask those questions. But now we're just going to ask Sean a couple of general questions that we generally have when we're going into an inspection here. So you mentioned things about the windows and how they need to stay open on their own. Are like prop rods allowed or anything like that? Or can they fix the window? What other options do they have?
Yeah, so of course it's preferred to fix the window so it works properly, especially with children. But prop rods, things like that are not necessarily permitted. Barrel bolts are a nice alternative.
Okay. And then also, could you just go over like that 4% rule thing again there, just so that everyone can maybe understands what you talked about?
Sure. So what we're talking about is the open window area, not the whole window. And so what you're going to do is basically measure the square footage of the floor of the room you're in, and then say it's 100 square feet. Well, you're going to multiply that by 4%. That's going to give you 4 feet. So you want to have at least 4 square feet of openable area for the ventilation for the room.
All right. And then one of the questions that we got is that, some of our homes in Hagerstown don't have windows in their living rooms. Is that allowed? Can they have a windowless living room?
It's possible, for sure. If they don't, they at least need to have a door. And so, and it may not be windows, but there has to be some type of mechanical ventilation, again, to recirculate the air.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Sean, for doing those. Those are pretty much the questions that we have so far that came in here. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to always email us to ask those questions. We'd like to thank you all being part of this webinar series. You can always follow us on any of our social media accounts. We have Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can just search for PCAD Hagerstown, and that's PCAD Hagerstown, to find us on any of those social media platforms. Again, thank you all for participating in this webinar today, and please sign up for the next webinar. An invite will go out later today where we'll be covering dining rooms. Thank you all again.